let's talk about Botox.
Okay.
We both have had
Yes.
bad experiences. I haven't talked about mine publicly, although I did
Now
in my
is the time and
episode
place.
before. Yeah, I don't know. Is it the we'll see. We'll see if it's the time and the place. I'm still traumatized. But what was your experience?
Yeah. So I had a horrific Botox nightmare experience about 10 years ago. I was newly engaged, and like most newly engaged people, they start out on a glow up plan before the wedding. And at that time, you know, the lower part of my face was very heavy. That's just kind of naturally my anatomy. And so I was researching different ways to just balance out my facial anatomy. I looked into getting buccal fat removal, which I'm glad that I didn't do at the time.
Thank God.
Yeah, it seemed very invasive. So when I heard about the alternative of Botox masseter injections from a dermatologist, I said, okay, I'm going to try it out. And he did 20 to 30 units on each side.
That's a lot.
3 times over the course of a year, so about every 4 months. And it was way too much. My muscles on the lower face completely atrophied. And it was a slow progression, but I mean, eventually after a year, it looked like my whole lower face had just melted.
Wow.
Because there was no structure. There was nothing to hold up the skin. If you think about, you know, the face like a tent, right? And the skin is the tent tarp, and the poles underneath holding that tarp up are the fat, the muscle, the bone. Imagine taking out a couple of those tent poles. What happens to that tent? It's going to sink in. And that's what happened to my face on the lower half. I didn't know what was going on at first. I thought I was just rapidly aging. I was freaked out. I would look in the mirror and I didn't even recognize myself. It was really frightening. I was so scared. And what I noticed the most when I looked in the mirror was the sagging skin. But it was not that my skin was sagging. It was just there was no structure underneath that skin to hold it up. So I started frantically looking into skin tightening treatments. I had all therapy done twice.
Oh no.
Which I do not recommend. It's so painful.
And that can actually melt the fat.
And
even
it
more.
did.
Oh, it did.
Which it did.
Oh no.
So I have like temple veins that became visible after that because it melted so much fat in my forehead. So, but it did work to tighten the skin. But I did have a lot of fat, facial fat loss after that.
Crazy. Yeah. So I had to stop getting Botox in August because I got botulism.
Oh my
Everybody. It took 6 months for the diagnosis because nobody believed me, even though I had all the symptoms. It was crazy. But I also was getting master Botox because I have TMJ, I clench. And so mostly for me, it was like just relief from that. It wasn't so much cosmetic. But it's funny because I remember some like troll on TikTok was like, whoa, slow down with the masseter Botox or something. Because I think all my videos, like, because I was getting it so often, my face was like so much wider in the cheeks. And then, you know, which I like a heart shape, but I think it was like pretty extreme. And one good thing that has come out of not getting Botox is that my masseters came back and I'm like, oh my God, I can like see that I have more of like a jaw before. And exactly what you were saying, it was like all that scaffolding was like gone. And so things were just kind of falling. But, you know, I love my Botox. I just can't get it. And I think that people just need to be really careful and go into it like asking questions and knowing what they're treating, because I think that it's so common now, like, you know, going to get Botox in LA, it's like going to get a latte. You know, you just don't even think about it. But there are very real side effects, whether it's cosmetic or systemic, that can happen as a result of it. And, you know, the reason that I haven't really talked about it is because I don't want to like fearmonger and scare people. But it was nothing my injector did. It was not where I put it. It was not bad Botox or anything like that. It's just, it's something that can happen. It's just really rare. So anyway.
Is it just an immune response to it?
No. So the doctor who finally diagnosed me, he's a derm at Mount Sinai. it was crazy because I went to like one doctor after another, after another, after another. It happened the day after I got injections, and it was so debilitating. I couldn't function for months. And I was like, it's from Botox. And they're like, no, even if like it got into your system, it wouldn't cause this. And I started researching and like reading articles on PubMed about iatrogenic botulism, like botulism from cosmetic doses. And the majority of them weren't from like having over 200 units. It was from relatively low doses. And it's just like, it can go into like an artery, I think, or it can migrate a little bit from where it's placed, and it's just like an unlucky thing. I don't know why. I did all the things. I wasn't laying down. I didn't get a massage. I didn't work out after, like nothing. And this doctor said like, yeah, it can just happen. It's just one of the risks of getting it. And obviously it's so studied and, you know, relatively safe. But if you do have a complication, it can be like really devastating.
So are you completely off the Botox now?
Well, everyone's going to think I'm crazy. After 3 months, they were like, the company said it sounded like pseudobotulism, and that if I was better at 3 months, then I would know that it was the Botox. But I was kind of like in denial, and I was like, there's no way, because everyone was telling me there's no way that Botox would do this. So I'm like, I'm going to go back and I'm going to try. Yeah. And I did like just a few units of Dysport, and like everything kind of started again. So at that point I thought, well, maybe it's an immune thing, because if it was botulism, why would it happen again? But the doctor at Mount Sinai said, no, it's because it was still in your system. So if you're like adding more on top of it, then it's just going to like make those symptoms more prominent again, because we think that Botox lasts 3 months and that's it. But that's really based on like patient efficacy reporting. So we usually see our Botox start to wear off around 3 months or so. Mm-hmm. But he was saying that like it takes much longer to get out of your body. And my friend, who's also a doctor, was on the call, not to make this whole episode about this, but she's like, this is great news. And I was like, yeah. Is it? And she goes, yeah, because you're not allergic. You can get Botox again. And he was like, yeah, I would just wait like 6 months. And I'm like, botulism, good news. I don't know. But it's hard. I mean, it's hard. Yeah. Like 1, being a woman, 2, being a woman in LA, 3, being somebody who's like public facing. You know, I'd gotten Botox for 10 years and now I have like crow's feet, and I'm like, what's that? Like, I had never seen a line on my face before, because I started getting Botox in my late 20s. So it's been a process, a journey of acceptance and patience, and just trying to like focus more on healing my body than anything else. But I'm like, fuck, there's gotta be something. Maybe in Korea they have some kind of alternative. Not
that I've heard of yet.
I'm on a mission.
Well, when you find it, tell me.
Yeah, I will, for sure.